And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
All right, good morning. Bring him on up in here. Hello, it's Christian, and welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire, our Saturday morning, or whenever you may be listening to the podcast. We appreciate you being here, and I'm joined this morning, as usual, with our friend Steve. And I think if I take him off the mute, he'll be able to speak. It's good to have the power of the mute, especially with this bunch that hangs out with us. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Christian, and good morning, everyone.
Well, this is going to be an interesting show here because it's kind of, this is a ham that posted on our Facebook group, essentially saying, I don't think this is what I've signed up for. And Steve and I are going to look at the post. Many people have contributed to it and given their opinions of it. And it's around Ray's post, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. You know, I got my second COVID shot, Steve. Let's try something here. This is a different view for the people. Maybe a little too close, still a little brush burn across the forehead, but, I was trying to save the mayor from a shark attack. Catfish, because we're out here in the middle of the country. Anyway, so not to. I just like the more real estate, the better. Mm-hmm. Also, if you're new to the channel or first time seeing the show, put new in the chat. I would really like to meet you. If we haven't met, my name is Christian. Call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. And this is Steve, Whiskey 7 United Delta India. W7 UDI, famous ham. Everybody's Elmer, Uncle Steve. Anyhow. Let us know if you're new here. We'd like to meet with you. And the chat room is very friendly. Very friendly. Be nice. So anyway, got my second COVID shot on Sunday morning. I went out there skipping, man. I went out there heel clicking. I was like, click, look at this. And by the afternoon, I started feeling really sleepy. And I was like, sleepy. And I started feeling a little achy. 18 hours after the second COVID shot, I finally sort of pulled up from this feeling I was having. I was super excited. I'm glad it's all done. But, man, it was about 18 hours. And I think you told me and many other people are like, this thing will affect you differently than other people. My wife weighs about $105, right? She's a former professional ballet dancer, for Pete's sakes. One of the strongest people I know. But medicine and anything like that can really affect somebody with a light weight. Right? Makes sense. She's fine, gardening, I don't know. And my old Polish blood was like, what? Oh, what are you doing? My muscles are like, oh, dude. Lay down, man. But we're all done. We got it done. And you're early.
That's been the interesting concept, with everyone reacting differently. And I saw it early on because I was part of the first groups to get the shot and seeing it with coworkers and how they were affected. It was interesting. Especially the younger folks seem to have it a harder time than us, older people. And I just kind of went, well, there's a difference. I drank out of the garden hose when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And, but I don't know. It's just, everybody's different. You hear the war stories about all the effects and with the COVID shot, but don't stop you from going out and getting it. It's
we can get on back to life. That's what I'm looking forward to. I just want to go out
Hamfest.
And eat.
We need to go back to Hamfest.
And gatherings, and it's not even a political thing. This is not a political platform. We just want to get back to normal.
Club meetings. Let's go. Field day's coming around the corner, so that's
a field day. And that reminds me, a couple weeks before that is our tune-up, and probably next week we have our prizes and things like that to give away. What I want to do now is I want to get on to this post, and everybody be cool now. We're gonna get into the post and talk about it a little bit, and try to help Ray. Right, I'm pretty new to the hobby, but it seems I'm missing something. Is there more to this than making contacts around, and get them in your log, or listening to people tell you what you're doing wrong? This isn't what I thought I was getting into. I enjoyed the Calm Academy, which was very nice last weekend, really well attended, done well, and first time it's been international. I did a piece on that for Amateur Radio Newsline this week. That's a side thing. Ray continues, but it's not something you use all the time. Thank goodness for that. I must be missing the big picture. Now, let me just start off with you, Steve, and then we're going to go off into the responses. So without you and I going on a rant too much, the things that we might want to say might be already listed below. 110
Right.
comments. We won't be able to get to them. But the post reach, you can see there, 3.2 thousand people there. 3,200 people had seen this post. And any, what comes to mind when you see something like this, Steve?
The first thing is, what were you expecting? What was your expectations into the hobby, and what do you want to achieve? What do you want to get out of it? We all come into the hobby for myriad of different reasons, and then what is that reason? Some people want to do more kit building, or they want to do building of, or get in the technical aspect of it. Others want to just get on the air and make contacts. What do you want out of it, Ray? And then you go from there, and then you have us help you achieve that. And so I understand your frustrations. You get into the hobby. I know we speak about it a lot, and we paint the hobby as big, flowery, that, hey, this is a great hobby, come on in. But we all come into it with our own expectations, and we see the hobby through our lenses of our eyes. And so I appreciate your post, and I understand your frustration, but it's lacking a little bit of what do you want to try to get out of it, and then what can we do to help you achieve that.
Let's see what some of the people said, because Ray may give us some insight as we go along here. And lots of people did comment on that. And I was reading through these posts, and I really appreciate everyone in the 100 Watts and Wire community on Facebook not attacking. They were kind of looking at it from a different perspective, which was nice. Robert asked, what about ham radio interests you? This is sort of what Steve has mentioned a little bit here, too. What are your expectations of the hobby? Ray comes back and says, I was involved in CB for many years, and I enjoy talking with people, but that doesn't seem to be the focus around here, which around here seems to be a little bit more ham radio, not so much the group he's talking to. There's some replies here. Let me open them up, too. And please put your comments in below, because I think these could be valuable, in post after the show, too, and we won't be able to get to everything like that. So let's see. Robert replies, there's plenty of folks that like to rag chew. You got to get out there and find them. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's and I agree with that. There is a lot less rag chewing these days than there is back in the day, which seemed to be a little more prevalent. Nowadays, more people are into I just want to make the contact, get in, get out, 5-9, thank you, bye. And they're interested in just putting wallpaper on the wall, getting their worked all states, DXCC, whatever awards they're looking for. And so I understand your frustration there, Ray. And come on, let's get on 20 meters. You and I can have a nice long chat.
We can figure it all out. So Robert also says, get on some 2-meter nets, repeaters in your area. Let's go on down a little bit. Joe, a new voice, said, I spin the dial and talk to anyone out there. Again, now this is an interesting one, because some people are, I guess, what you call introverted. Maybe they don't set up and call CQ, that sort of thing. Some people are. Steve's very outgoing, and I sometimes listen on the net. If there's a lull in the net, I'm like, uh-oh. But it doesn't seem to matter to a guy like Steve, or what may be considered an extrovert, because Steve will just sit there and park and bark until somebody calls back, and not everybody's built that way. So that's just a point, but I understand. Let's see. Dudley says, the focus around here is educational. This is a discussion where people ask a lot of questions. So the contributions here are used commenting on technology and practices of amateur radio. That's why everyone is giving advice. So yeah, I guess he read that the same way I read it. It's not so much the group. Around here, I think he meant ham radio in general. And this isn't not attack on Ray either. And I don't think you'll find that here Jason says if you're looking to talk to people, consider the digital modes. I don't know a ton about that, but it's just another layer. What we're seeing here, Steve, is different layers of the hobby. Different things that you can kind of get into. What do you think?
Yeah. There's a myriad of layers in this hobby and modes, and there's also the technical side of it, where you get into building and developing things. It's I like to throw together some antennas here and there, HF wire antennas, because they're easy and they're fun to do, and experiment with that. Of building repeater systems I've done for a long time, and I enjoy doing that, putting systems together, and believe it or not, I don't particularly like to operate on it. I'll talk on it, but I'm not super active on that part. I have more fun being active on HF, but I enjoy that aspect of the hobby, personally, is the building and assembling systems. And then I enjoy the part of just rag chewing and then, having a cup of coffee. and we're in the Ham Radio coffee shop. So
yeah, that's all fine with me. I got coffee. I might need to top it off. Let's see what else is going on.
Yeah, we gotta.
Ron says you need to find a niche that interests you, whether it's CW, antenna building, finding people to rag chew. All true. And Ray says, I guess I'm struggling with the fact that I don't know what I don't know. We're going to have Ray on here to talk about. Yeah, that is
Ray,
really all right.
That's okay. We all started not knowing everything. And 40 plus years, I still don't know everything. I don't know anything about all the new digital modes. I just haven't delved into that because hasn't been a real interest. But and it's okay. It's an adventure. This whole thing is we're just exploring, and what's neat about the hobby is it's so diverse, and
you don't figure it all out. Like, that's the whole thing. No. I think when I got involved in it early, it was I need to know what antenna to buy. I need to know what radio it was like, tell me everything I need to do and get now. Can I do it? And this isn't one of those things where it's like you're going to buy the best this and you're going to be fine. Just buy this and you'll be all right. It's a lot different than that, and it takes that time.
It takes time. I mean, you've already said it. You like, when you're in their CB days, you'd like that to just get together, people rag chewing, having a good time. Everyone was just wanted to have a good time. Unfortunately, our whole society is kind of changing. And our hobby here is we're kind of, we're a part of society. And unfortunately, as much as we try to keep society, the ugliness of society out of our hobby, it creeps in and we become part of that. And it just kind of filters in. And that's the frustrating. We all deal with that, with the rudeness on the air and the garbage. But fortunately, when you spin around the dial on HF, you know where the pockets of the knuckleheads are, and you just kind of avoid it. It's like the neighborhood where you live. This is the bad neighborhood, and you really don't want to hang out over there. You just kind of avoid it, or you hang out there if you want to. It's whatever floats your boat.
All right, let's go to here. I like this one from James, who's been with us for a long time. This is a great response. Amateur radio is what you make of it for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you what you should or should not do. Do you like building things? Build stuff. Do you like being outdoors? Go portable. Do you like talking to people? Call CQ Rag Chew or join a Rag Chew net. Do some experimenting with computers. Try one or more of the dozen of digital modes out there. Do you like public service? Find a club that does communications for public events and bike races and marathons. There are hundreds of facets of this thing that we call amateur radio, and they're not all mutually exclusive. What you may end up liking may be a synergy of several things within the hobby. I mean, I don't know if you can say it. I don't know if you can say it any better than that. So there you go.
But awesome post, James.
one thing it's important to know, Ray, is that there is support. It's not like you need a support group here, but you actually have a support group here. And any hams that you'd run around with that are just sort of negative, clearly that's the wrong group of people. I haven't met a ton of hams that are like douches, you know what I mean? They're out there, like you said, they're out there. But generally, I think in this community here and the ham community in general, most people are really open to helping you. And if they don't make you feel welcome, then that's the red flag.
There's others that will.
It's sort of like he's in a position where he wants to know more quickly, and he wants to be in wherever he needs to be faster, kind of thing. And this is one of those things where you just need more time. You just can't get there. And then before you know it, you turn around and you've picked up a lot of information. I listen a lot. I listen to the radio a lot. I'm not always operating, or I don't have time to put the butt in the chair to call CQ or chase. Sometimes I like to chase for sure, but listening to some people, and you can tell who knows their stuff. You know, I like the ones that are talking about antenna and height and length and propagation and how to build, or even I heard a good one this past week about amplifiers. You know, what's your plate current, and what, you know, like they were going into it 4 years ago, I was not ready for that conversation. You know, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. Plate current, just tell me where to dial it. What am I supposed to do? What's too much? Don't put your hand in there. It was that. And then over time, just like everything else, you sort of build up an understanding.
And then there's people that's all they think amateur radio is supposed to be, is all talking about, the technical aspect of our hobby, like the going in deep into the plate current, into the amplifier and the antenna theory, propagation. And then there's the other side of it where, you know, a couple of guys are getting out there and they're just talking about whatever they're talking about. Just some friends that are getting together and talking about just life in general.
Right.
And that's great. I like you. There's times I'm out here in the shop. I'll leave the door open to the shack. I'll turn on the rig behind me here and find a QSO that the guys are going, and I'll turn the volume up and walk back out into the main shop and just let them, you know, rag chew or talk about whatever they're talking about. Or even, when we had a lot of DXpeditions going on, I used to listen to DXpeditions and listening for people that I know that would work that station, and I hear their call, and or just generally listen to how the DX operator is operating. So there's a lot of aspects of what's going on, and I know you're a little confused, frustrated, Ray, and man, you got a lot of comments here and some great support, and we've all been through that. We've always like, what did I sign up for? Why am I here? What's it about? But you'll find your niche through the hobby and what excites you, and then what doesn't. I mean, there's aspects of the hobby I don't really have any interest in, but I think it's cool because people are doing it, and that's the neat thing. And if I got bored with, say, 20 meters sideband, it's like, well, let me go work 17 or something, or go do CW, or try digital modes or digital voice, or go back to doing mesh networks or something like that. There's all kinds of things we can do. Even ATV, that's another aspect. I mean, we kind of do it a little bit here on YouTube, but you know, amateur radio television is one aspect of the hobby, and slow scan TV. So there's a myriad of things we can do in this hobby here.
So what I'm seeing here, you know, and I'm just going to add this to it and then leave it there, and encourage anybody who's watching this to leave your comments or comment in the chat for Ray. But I think you need to find your people. Like, that's the whole thing. When you get into life, you know, you need to find your people who you need to be hanging around. And I think you've got a good group here. But the ham radio community, you know, So it's kind of whittle down what you're interested in and then find your people. And then when you find your people, it's like, wow, this is great. I found my people. It's so much easier when you've got like minds around you. So, Ray, thank you for the question. It was really well received. I thought the people in the community, we can maybe even go back and look at it a little bit later, but we're going to go and do some news at the moment. But thank you for the post, and thank you for all you guys for staying positive with him, because that could have turned, in some places, that could have turned to, put on a helmet, and that's not his people. You can tell by the responses you found people.
There's other places that would say, well, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, and that's wrong. It's you came here for a reason, and we want to keep you here because we enjoy you being here, and we want to help you. And if there's frustrations and challenges along the way, let us know so we can help you along and enjoy the hobby. But always remember, it's your hobby and you enjoy it your way.
Find your people. Find your people. That's important. We'll come back with 2 stories. Steve's coming to the chat to find out what's going on in there. We'll be right back.
In a land where we're all 20 over, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
The ICOM 705 is your perfect QRP companion, as you have base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers. But it's in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at 1 kilo, or just over 2 pounds, with RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. It's got that large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. And the perfect accessory for the IC705 is the optional backpack. It's the LC192. It has a special compartment for the IC705 and room for accessories for soda activations or just a day in the park. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on all ICOM radios.
When in doubt, hang 'em high. This is 100 Watts and a Wire.
All right, and welcome back to the show. This is the portion of the program where I invite my friends and my colleagues from Amateur Radio Newsline to join me. And I have to say, we'll start with Karen. I know that you did comment on Ray's post, and you probably have something to add here. So the floor is yours. Oh, wait a minute, Karen. I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead. You're ready.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was very struck by Ray's comment and felt bad that he was searching. I have to say, I've been a ham only since 2014. I can't get enough of the choice. It's like being in a candy store. I bounce from one thing to another to another to another. I've gone from DMR to programming my my dual bander to try to hit the ISS, to thinking about the day that I can go portable, which I still haven't been able to do, to wanting to operate mobile. My first love will always be DXing and the rack shoe and the nets and the special events. Those are my 4 cornerstones, but it's not going to stop with that. So my goodness, there's so much choice. I just say, Ray, if you're watching or watching live or watching this on playback, just keep trying till you find something. You will find something, or it will find you.
Paul, equal time here, brother. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly what she said. I've been in this for almost 44 years now, and I keep finding different things that are interesting. I've tried some stuff that and even after 43 years, I'm still having problems getting antennas built that work. So, I mean, there's still things to learn. And I have learned in the past couple of years that since I've been part of the 12 Days of Christmas and most recently the Last Man Standing special event, what a blast that was. And that was nothing that I would ever had considered doing before. And then I was asked to do it. And it's like, oh, my God, this is great. So it keeps evolving. You keep finding new things. And I think really a key is to, like somebody said, find your tribe. The 100 Watts group is overall very welcoming and very helpful and very friendly. And I think that, we all agree that those people who don't play nice with others don't last there long. And if you have local hams that you have access to, you may not. But if you do, if there's a club, go meet other hams in person, because then you can go do things with a buddy. And I mean, that was what, for me, I was lucky. I had an Elmer, actually multiples. I belonged to a very popular club when I started back in the 70s. And that really helps when you have a buddy to go do things with. But if you don't, then use virtual buddies. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Right on. Well, thank you both for that. That's important. And Ray, look, you're getting some good advice here. So you may have found your people. Two Stories is a feature where each week we pick two. One story is kind of a main story. Maybe you haven't heard about it, or you should have heard about it. The second story may be a lesser known story. Karen, what'd you come up with for the heavy hitter this week?
Okay, the heavy hitter stems from my love of QSL cards, so I picked this because it's remarkable. Everybody, raise your right hand if you've ever waited for a really long time to get a QSL card. Fellow, there you go. I got one the other day, which I'm so happy to have. But this fellow behind me in the light-colored shirt waited, didn't know he was getting the QSL card. It is an 80-year-old QSL card.
Wow.
And it's from his father, who is a silent key. Now, there's a story here. The person presenting the card to him is the president of the Horseshoe Amateur Radio Club in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And the club came to possess the card from Byron Sell, who, that's the father, the silent key, W8 VPF, the father of the fellow in the photo, Byron Sell, KB3CQX. And the young Byron grew up in the shack with his dad, sharing the radio hobby. And Dad passed a few years ago, and somehow, just recently, on the 80th anniversary of this card being sent, the card shows up at the Amateur Radio Club and is given to the president, and he feels it should go rightfully to the son, and here he is presenting it. And here's the remarkable thing. The card was sent to a ham in Michigan, and a note on the card says that he's very happy to confirm the contact. He's a brand new ham, and he says, "You are my first contact."
Wow, that's crazy. Paul, you and I know nothing about being cool, but for me, we do know what cool is. How cool is this?
That is way cool. I mean, number one, it shows the generational nature of ham radio to a degree, because there's been a number of stories over the years of a ham who discovered, like, the original radio that his father or grandfather had, or they found some old cards and things. So it shows that, radio can be a generational thing in a family, and it also shows that overall hams are a good bunch. That somebody thought about this and figured out where to send the card, and that the club then thought, you know what, the right thing to do is give it to his son. And the fact that he's got it, that it was his dad sent it to some kid who was his first contact. That's very cool. So I love this story. It was just a heart warmer.
Karen, as the editor of Amateur Radio Newsline, you're going through piles of stories from around the world. How's it feel when you find something like this?
Oh, I jumped all over this. I was so happy to see this. Again, for my personal love of QSL cards, because they're old-fashioned. You can hold them in your hand. You know somebody's handwriting is on it. They personally wrote something to you. I saw this and I said, first thing is, this is going in the newscast. And second thing is, this is going on 100 watts in a wire. It's part of why I love the hobby. It's the interconnectedness. The QSL card is a perfect symbol of that. And when it's from father to son, and the father is a silent key, wow, I'd put that thing under glass for sure.
Yeah, great story. Thank you for that one, Karen. Moving to number two story here. I noticed, yeah, that was a little weird segue there. I apologize for that, Paul. You've got a plane behind you and something happening there. What's going on with story number 2?
Yeah, real quick, I want to just add one little
Yes.
side note to that last thing, is that
Okay.
that's one of the reasons, too, why I'm so big on paper QSLs. I know that everybody now is like, oh, that's dumb, don't waste your money, just do EQSLs. But I got a box full that I scanned in that I have in a little digital picture frame now of stuff from like when I first was licensed. And that stuff doesn't exist in the electronic world. So that's why I'm still big on sending and receiving paper QSLs. Okay, on to my story. The plane behind me is from Malaysia Air. And if you remember, back in 2014, it was all over the news. Flight MH370 disappeared somewhere over the Indian Ocean. Everybody on board, there were 200 some passengers on board. It just disappeared. They couldn't find it, and they still have not found it. Little bits and pieces of wreckage or debris have shown up here and there, floated around. But all of a sudden now, it's determined that possibly ham radio may have a link into helping narrow down and possibly locating the wreck, because it tripped several WSPR beacon tripwires. It flew through a zone where there isn't regular air traffic. So they went back and they've been analyzing the whisper logs from this area over the Indian Ocean, and they have seen a pattern of interruption in the signals from that time, and they are able to track on a map by looking at where those signals would have been aimed and where they were interrupted. They're helping to narrow down the field where they think that plane might be. So it's amazing. They're saying, okay, if you want to look it up, the primary story is on a website called airlineratings.com, and it's amazing because they show a map and it says that the plane crossed 8 whisper links as it was going across the Indian Ocean, and that shows that matches up with what the path would have been for the flight. And the nice thing is that was empty airspace at the time. There weren't a lot of planes flying around to cause confusion. So they're really analyzing it, and that may actually help narrow down the search, and they may end up being able to find the wreckage.
Do you guys think that airlines and governments in general appreciate what amateur radio and the technology can do for finding missing planes? And we're able to kind of get into things now, and I wonder if some governments appreciate that. Karen, you having a thought?
Yeah, I'm thinking anything that can assist them is welcome. What's nice is amateur radio has so many applications outside of contests and special events and rag shoes. Amateur radio, being a form of transmitting signals at varying frequencies, can be used for so much more. And let's face it, part of our mission is community service, public service, and even in the sense that this was not proactive public service, yet the signals were there and can be used for something good like this. I think it's very appreciated, and I think it's wonderful that there is a resource like this. So yeah, of course, I think they'd be crazy to turn their back on something that is such a given and can really help them.
Are we forcing transparency, Paul?
I don't, and the thing is, I don't think that a government overall is going to come out and say, yeah, ham radio is awesome. But I think that the individual agencies involved in, for example, in here, whatever the equivalent of the FAA is, appreciates what's happening, or the FCC when hams are able to track down some interference that they don't have the manpower to do. I think internally they appreciate what we do, but unfortunately I don't think we're going to get a great big statement from the government saying, Ham radio is wonderful. You should all look into it.
Keep digging around and sniffing around and finding these things out. I love that.
But I think
yeah.
the people in the individual agencies definitely appreciate what we can do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you all. Kept you a little overtime today, but interesting topics and your opinions and helping a fellow ham go, extra distances. Just hearing the words, I think sometimes typing is one thing, but actually hearing people speak to you in a way is good. And I know Ray's not the only person. So thank you both for contributing the stories and the support for a member of our family, as it were.
You're welcome.
My thanks to
Just
Karen and to Paul. Go ahead.
Stay away from the negative people. Just walk away. Don't let them discourage you. There are plenty of us out there who are willing to help and make you feel welcome. So if you get negativity from somebody, just say thanks and leave. There's plenty of us out there.
Yeah, I would say the negative people are outnumbered, so stick with us.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Put your comments below if you'd like to. We'll say 73 to our friends from Amateur Radio
73.
Newsline. We'll come back with some Q&A next. Oops, a daisy. There we go. Main Trading Company is your one-stop ham radio shop in Paris, Texas. Find us on the web at mtcradio.com. We've been in business for 12 years. We take trades and love to help fellow hams trade up to a newer rig. Watch our used gear page on the web for great deals on older and even like-new equipment. Main Trading is a mom-and-pop business owned by Richard and Christine Lenore. We hope you'll hop on the web and give us a try, or give us a call at 903-737-0773. We're here hoping to earn your business with good old-fashioned friendly service. If you're in Northeast Texas, stop in and see us at 2707 Lamar Avenue. Main Trading Company, Surplus Electronics, and Ham Radio. And Bioenno Power, offering the best performance lithium iron phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com. Or contact dealers nationwide. All right. Thank you very much for that. Boy, I love to hang out with our community, and it really is something to hear people say things to you. You know what I mean? People type all the time. We kind of get immune to it. I remember working for National Public Radio for a decade, and I'd be running the news, and, I felt like I was getting immune to the things that I was hearing. And I think it's the same thing for people who are always typing and reading and responding and liking and not liking and all this. This is what we kind of need. I know this is still a little bit distant, but you still hear the people talk. You still hear the words. So I appreciate everybody's feedback for that.
You get the inflections. You get the emotions of the person you're talking to. That's something you can't really convey in the typed word. In the spoken word, we can convey subtle things that you can't in the type word. And then you type something and your meaning is XYZ, but then it gets misinterpreted, and flame wars start over that, or it's ridiculous.
So how are our friends in the chat? I mean, speaking of that it is a complete value to have a community of people responding to these things. I'm not saying that the written word, the original post is more of what I meant, where you're kind of reading these things, and it's all good, but it's nice to actually hear these words. How are the people in the chat responding?
Oh, the same. Pretty much like in the Facebook post. It's pretty much a mirror of that. Everyone's responding positively. We have Ray in the chat, and thanks, Ray, for being here. Thanks for the question. It's
good. He's here. Good.
Yeah, and then it's good to see that, and it's you're not alone, and there's a lot of people feel with that. I like to kind of hang out on QRZ forums just to kind of see what's going on, and a question like that comes up, and then all the time there's people come out and the haters start coming out, and that just adds more confliction to the problem. They're the ones that say, don't let the door hit you on the rear end, and or why are you here? And it's just I hate that part. It's this is what I love about this community, is that the support, and
It's interesting. You
we need
wonder
to-
if, like, the Weavers Guild, right, which is a real thing, and they've been around for 100 years. You wonder if they've got all this yakety yak going on. It's something about it. I don't know if it's radio that brings it. It's just a different, where you have that negativity in the yarning world or whatever it would be, or basket weaving hobby.
It's everywhere. Yeah, I mean, it's just people come into a hobby or some interest, and they come in wide-eyed and really just want to get into it deep, and then just kind of get frustrated in it. And all I can do is kind of tell about my story and what I did when I got into the hobby. I was just this punk kid, and I wanted to do everything. And yeah, I got frustrated because I wanted to do everything, and being a young kid, I didn't have the funds to do everything. And then after a while, I kind of found my niche and kind of focused on that and went that way. I had, my detractors that I had to deal with because my double issued call in the beginning, and I just said, I'm not going to let that, slow me down. I'm just going to continue on the hobby. And but that's my story. And Ray, your story is your story, and I, we want to help you continue on and help you get whatever the most enjoyment you can get out of this hobby.
See,
And we want
Ray
to help you get there.
Ray represents a lot of people. Ray actually could represent 60,000 people who have their license and technician class license who are not active in the hobby for whatever reason. And that's a really important demographic to know. That's not a number I just pulled it out of. You know what I'm saying? That's a 60,000. And when you start talking about who gets their license, there's a breakdown, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. But I remember about 60,000 people have their license, their tech license. They're not moving into the general, and there's a reason for it. So I can only thank Ray and hope that he'll stick around. But Ray may also represent hundreds, if not thousands, of other people who are sort of, concerned or worried, or kind of, when I got started, I was told, you do it this way, or you're doing it wrong. And it kind of sparked the show and the community, because I couldn't. Like you mentioned, being older, an adult, and having a job where you could have a little bit of a income that you could put on other things and have a hobby. Not everybody can have a hobby. So I wasn't in a position, and you knew me then, I wasn't in a position where I was saving up. I was saving up for my first rig. I was trying to hang antennas or figure out what to do. But there was a part of me that thought, maybe this isn't for me. And bingo, this is the part where we got to try to figure out where these people are and have these conversations, because I didn't have the money or the space to do certain things with my antennas. I couldn't do it like an experienced 40, 50 or more year ham radio veteran would be doing it, because they've paid their dues. I just couldn't go buy it. So I thought, maybe I'm not for this, man. Maybe it's not for me.
But then there's also, we kind of brought it onto ourselves as the seasoned amateur. I'll put it that way. The ones that have been in the hobby, as we're encouraging others. I don't know if we're giving too much expectations to someone brand new. One thing that kind of I look at, you mentioned the technicians. People go, okay, all you need is this little Bofang radio, and you can get on the air and you can talk to the world. And so they go out and they get that, and they're trying to talk to the world, and they're running into various situations, and then driving down the road trying to talk on a radio. And it's like, why am I not getting into why they're telling me I'm noisy and this and that, and they get discouraged because they were kind of led down one path that you get this device and you can go out and talk to the world, where it's like, yes, but there's limitations. And so I think we're kind of contributing to that a little bit. And so that's another area where we have a lot of people that have their technician license. They get on the air and then they get off because either they've been chased away, or they're having technical issues, but they can't get into a repeater that's 35 miles away with a little handheld. And they were, went through their licensing class, and they're saying, yes, this radio will get you where you need to go. And so there's these expectations that are the person has, and then it's not fulfilled, and then they get discouraged out of the hobby. Another one that came up, Phil brought up in the chat, is that, and I see this comment a lot. It's people, they achieve their extra class license, they get it, they pass the test, but then they ask a question. Then you got some curmudgeon or some hater that will come out, well, you got an extra class license, so you should know that. It's like, no, you pass the test. Those are the minimum basics. Just because you get your driver's license doesn't mean you're going to go out onto the NASCAR circuit the next day.
That's good.
And, win the Daytona 500. You just pass the minimum basic requirements to drive a car. And you're not going to go from 0 to hero in 2.5 milliseconds.
And we know your parallel parking's still a little epi.
A little rough. But that's us, the older, not chronologically aged, but the ones that have been here for longer in the hobby. We need to stop that. We need to continue on encouraging the people that started, because we were green behind the ears. I was a punk kid, not knowing anything and trying to absorb everything early on, and even after 44 years or whatever, I'm still learning every day something new, and so it's always a learning process.
It's funny, I hear these guys it's never the woman. The women don't do it. I love the women. They rule my world, and this one and every other one. But, you hear these guys on the radio, and they're buddies. They're friends, but there's still something that we can't leave ourselves to be happy for some people. We got to have these pissing matches. And it's sort of like, let me tell you a little something. And it's like, oh, and then there's a little bit of a little match going on here back and forth. And then they downplay how much power they're running. Or, it's like, well, you're just putting out how many watts out there? 400 watts, and you're 20 over. And there's this weird men thing. It's a man thing. I never hear women have these matches of like tit for tat knowledge, and they're friends on the air. And they still are kind of like having to one up each other, and then they'll talk about how, I'm just putting out, I'm 100 watts, I'm barefooter, I'm 200 watts. Oh wow, okay. And it's just this weird dynamic that I think the men folk do. We need help. I think we need to start a support group. We talk about these things. My pencil flew out. Like, don't. A bad idea. My pencil left the. No, don't write that down. That's not good. All right, boy. Thank you guys for engaging in this conversation. It's, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us that are not active, which is the one I really am interested in. Mm-hmm. That demographic and how you reach them, and how do you get that 60,000? I'm throwing that number out there again, but I think that's pretty close, where you've got the technicians and that are not converting, and why. Where do you find them? And I think we've talked about it, a good point here, but that's a lot of people.
And I know we push back to me again, and as I always encourage people to upgrade, just upgrade. And even though you don't you're happy being a technician, that's great. That's awesome. I just feel that upgrading to get all the way up to extra is you're just learning more into the hobby. And then when you do have the interest to say utilize extra privileges, then you're already there. You already have the license and you're ready to go, and it just comes down to your interest. But so I'm always pushing for someone to encourage them to move on, get their extra class, and then you're done. That's my attitude, is that get your extra class license, then you don't have to worry about upgrading anymore, and you just enjoy the hobby. There are folks that have been in the hobby forever as technicians, and they're perfectly happy, and I encourage that. And
Yeah, I didn't mean to
And
say
it-
you have to go. That's more of a number of people who are not active, not engaged in ham radio.
But there are people that are not active for a myriad of reasons.
Sure.
And whether it's, on the HF side was because of, we're coming out of the slump of the propagation, and that happens every time. I mean, it's just activity goes down when the propagation goes down. And then once the propagation goes up, and it's like, oh my God, I worked Asiatic Russia on 5 watts and had a 35-minute conversation with the guy. And those, they get out, and then people get excited on that. So it's, there's, like I said, a myriad reasons why people are active and inactive.
Right on.
I
I want to share something with
you.
you guys here while we're together here. I'm working on developing a new stream. And so I put in the chat a link to this spot here. Hour 73 is a segment here we do. It's a preparedness space. And, we're more than just amateur radio operators. There's a big preparedness community, people that like severe weather, people that like emergency communications. And so I put this form together, but essentially I'm looking to create a network of, and I know there's things that exist already that are out there, but this would be more of a 100 watts and a wire community network. I'm looking for correspondence in each state. We've got some severe weather that's going to be, it's already happening, but we've got hurricane season coming. We've got a lot of things, tornadoes here in this area. So I'm looking to find people who are into preparedness, severe weather, that community response. And that way I'll have some people I can talk to when the storms come and hit the Pacific Northwest. I know I'll have Steve there. We can talk. What are you seeing with the weather? People in Florida would be good. Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, all those areas to sort of... so I'm working on a stream that will have those. If you're interested in that sort of thing and you aren't too shy, there's no commitment here. But, if something's happening in your area that we need to take an eye and look at, and maybe we can be a voice for some other people out there, whether we're preparing or we're in the middle of it or recovering from it. So that's kind of what I've been working on lately. So if you're interested in that, check out the website there and, drop me a line. It's pretty easy to do. We got to do some questions. We got some questions to get your glasses on, all that sort of stuff. Thank you, Marvin. I see Marvin in the good comments about that. I know I was vague last week talking about it, a little bit as we were doing the Hour 73 segment, but I'm looking to just build a network of people that are in different places, and when things go down, I'll have somebody that I can kind of connect with, and we can talk about it. We can look at some of the weather maps. I'm not a weather expert, but I know a lot of people are into it. You can kind of see what's happening with the storm, see what's going on in different areas. So, and I know people are asking about the meet and greet, Steve. There's so many things.
Oh yeah.
I might as well just say it here. The meet and greet, I got into this new software and just needed to put the meet and greet down for a little bit while I got my handle here on what I'm doing production-wise, because this is the flagship show. This is the one that, we've been doing it since 2015, and I want to make sure this is right before I start adding too many other elements, and I just had to put it down for a while. It's not that we can't do it or won't do it again. We probably will. But like ham radio itself, man, I'm always tinkering and trying to do something for the better. So just be patient. I think Steve and I miss seeing you guys early in the morning too. And in the last few weeks, I've been like looking at my watch, like, wow.
I know. I was like,
I've got to wait 2 hours. 2 hours. It'll come back. If you guys dig it, we'll do it. I do worry sometimes about getting too stagnant or doing too much of the same sort of thing. But this show right here is the one that I have to focus on. This is the flagship show. Everything else is sort of extra. Yes, we'll be back on tomorrow night with the net, which is fun doing the play-by-play. But sometimes life also. There's production things that I'm working on, but there's also life. I've got 2 young kids and a wife. And sometimes you just have to breathe deep, and enjoy the breath and enjoy the view. Don't worry. It can all come back. So you'll know we'll be here every Saturday, and things will start to trickle in. And I'll tinker a little bit. And the thing with the
And
streams,
we're here every Sunday too.
every Sunday we're on the air. It doesn't change.
We're on the air.
Yeah, we just started streaming the net. The net's been going since 2015. So that's, it's all still going. It's all still on the table. And what happens is the additional streams when I stream, because I was asked recently, why are you doing this day? Or why are you doing that day? Maybe you should do this other day. And I do whatever day fits within my family structure, right? If it's an open spot and it makes sense, then I do it. If mama and the kids need me to do something else, then that's what's up. So Saturday morning's been great for this one. I used to record this audio only at 6 in the morning on Monday morning because it was the best possible time. So hang with me, guys. I appreciate you guys and your patience and your interest and your questions. That wasn't a question for today, Steve, but sometimes I got to do some housekeeping too. I don't want to be cryptic, but that's it. It's really simple. It's kind of the family first thing and tinkering this
and that's
show.
What we preach. And this is an extension of our hobby here. And but we always promote, family first. Take care of your family, and we're here. Everyone is here, and but we appreciate the questions on the meet and greet. And
because that's a whole different thing. That's really life. That's wide open. That's Betty White. That's a lot of fun. That's off topic, on topic, and it isn't to say that my wife or anything like that is controlling what we're doing. That's not the point. The point is that when my family, the girls are out doing their thing, whether they're dancing, whether they're this or they're in school or whatever it is, those openings are when you'll see me. That's it. That kind of my calendar. It's not a do it here because I need to do something because somebody else is doing. I don't have the luxury to just program to what you doing over there. Come find me. I'll be here. So anyway, let's get back to what we supposed to do, Steve. Nobody cares about this. Okay. We got a question from, let's see. All right, first question. Will burying my coax help limit SWR coming back to the shack? If you bury your coax cable like I do because I got a good long run from my shack to my switcher. It's a long run. It's about 125 feet, maybe a little bit more than that. Steve, we know that the SWR wants to come back down the coax. Putting it underground, does it help? Does it hurt?
It helps on the common mode currents. I don't see a lot of talk about it. Doing some research when I was doing research on some common mode currents, but I feel that if you bury your coax, it will dissipate common mode currents and help reduce the common mode current issues we have in the shack. But SWR is still a mismatch is still a mismatch, and that's what the SWR is. But I think it won't reduce it. A 5-to-1 is 5-to-1. But if with your common mode, there we go, not common code, common mode currents, it will help reduce it. So, like you, it's the run out to the antennas goes through underground conduits and it's buried. So I feel I have that. Since doing that, I haven't dealt with common mode problems as much as I did in the past.
Yeah, I've thought about this too, because you think that once you hit, I've got about 50 feet, say, on an antenna, about 50 feet up in an oak tree is kind of how I operate, and then it's on a coax. It's a 213, which early Elmer told me, it's not cheap, but you can direct bury it, and I did that. So, I used to think, would the SWR smash into the ground and you can't get back in there? But that sounds like that's not how that works.
No. The common mode current runs on the surface of the coax, and that's having it buried will dissipate it. And I did find a little bit of in my research, people talking about it, but it's not really common out there. But with SWR, it's the reflection, so you're going to have that reflection come back down on the inside of the coax, and you're still going to see that high VSWR. Now, when it comes to burying coax, you direct buried it, and a lot of people direct bury it. I choose the route, and the more expensive route, and that is using conduit. Put the conduit in the ground, and then that way you can always replace the coax. And when you direct bury it, it's like, so if you do, direct bury or, underground your cable, look at doing coax. Doesn't have to be the gray electrical conduits that you get down at the big box stores. Look at, your standard, Schedule 40 irrigation pipe, which is relatively inexpensive. Just take, get some Schedule 40 and 1 inch or the bigger the better, but whatever you can afford, but at least 1 inch size, and then just run it out to where it's going to go, to your tower or your mast, or out to where your tree is, and then you're going to have the cable coming straight up out of the ground. Then you can replace it, and you don't have to worry about it. But everybody's situation is unique.
Yeah, I'm direct buried right into the dirt. And no, it's good coax. I've been fortunate not to have it dug up or that sort of thing. But it's an awfully long run. And at the time it was put in, conduit would have been great, but I wasn't quite there. Maybe one day.
What? Yeah. I always recommend that.
Okay. Let's see what else we got. If you have questions, put them in the chat, or put a Q next to it. That's what I've been meaning to tell you guys. Put a Q. Just like you see them pop up on the screen here, put a Q, and that way I'll know it's a question. I can go back and dig it back out. That'd be cool. So if you can ask anything. It's fine. All right. Question number 2. All right. Okay. I see. Should 146 520 be used for general conversations, or should we keep this frequency clear in case of emergency? So this is the 2 meter frequency, the
calling frequency.
Yeah, the calling frequency. Isn't it good to use it, Steve? I mean, seems weird to just not.
These days it's dead. I mean, there's back, it's a suggestion. It's a gentleman's agreement that we in the amateur community created, and that 14652, the 2 meter calling frequency, should be a calling frequency, and the whole concept of it was to make a call, and then you move on to another frequency. So it's like, you and I call each other, we hook up on 52, and then we turn around and shift up to say 14654, and then open up the calling frequency. And that was the concept of it. But these days I don't really see that happening a lot, because I've driven road trips and stuff like that, and I've had my last trip when I took the Suburban to Kansas, to Wichita, I had the radio in the truck. It was a 3-day drive from here to Wichita. I had the radio on 14652, and I heard maybe 2 conversations the whole time. It was inactive. So you know what? Me personally, recognize it as the calling frequency, but I would just get out there and chit chat. And I know there's a lot of people that are listening to it. It's just, I think if we just utilize it a little bit more and start occupying it and having general conversations on it, then it might spur other people, coming out and utilizing their frequencies. Yeah, you're going to have the band cops. They're going to be the frequency police that will be out there, and they'll say this is a calling frequency. But it's yes and no. But when no one's using it, then so be it. But it's
a simplex frequency, so you're not like it's I mean, and I get hikers may be in trouble, and they kind of maybe will have this in their radios and that sort of thing. But I actually jump when I hear somebody on 5.2. I'm like, wow, like what's up with that? And they're either passing through town, But if I sat on it and just waited for something to happen, man, it's boring. I'm like,
Exactly.
and I'll hit the scanner, and if it stops on it, but not much, it doesn't.
So let's throw out a hypothetical situation
Okay.
here. You're out hiking around, and you got your HT radio, and you don't hear any repeaters or whatever, and you don't know what the PL is, or can't get into the repeater, but you start hearing people talking on 5.2, and you twisted your ankle or something. You think you're going to try to find another frequency? There's people talking. So there's a good chance that if I'm hearing them, they might hear me, and you can get the help. So I think using the frequency and making it active will draw someone to say, hey, I need help. There's people there chit-chatting. Maybe they'll hear me, and my chances of getting assistance goes up.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Send your emails or put your comments below. This will absolutely hit the channel. We'll put this up there, and I'm sure we'll get a mixed bag of response. But
the haters are going to come out on this one.
I'm also in favor of using it. I'm also in favor of using it. Or maybe there's a way to say, like, let me pause for whatever, or like you said,
we have
move
to be
up,
mindful
whatever.
of it. Be a little more mindful of it. If we're going to get into a super long conversation, then maybe move off to another channel, or someone will come out and say, hey, this is the calling frequency, move. So, it's operate your way.
All right, let's see. Is it better to have your antenna rotor positioned at the top or at the bottom of your mast? This may not be a better or worse answer at all, is it, right? This may be a situational answer.
Yeah. I think for a mast, I always like it down at the bottom, because then you can get to it. It's then you're not dealing with a bunch of weight at the top of the mast. On the tower, it's a different story. It's there's a place for it to put it there. But typically, let's look at how masts are going to be 25, 35 feet, less 50 feet max, 50 feet and less. It's better to have that rotor down at the bottom, in my opinion, because now you have that added weight is down at the bottom. Where if you put it at the top with the antenna, now as you're bringing that mast up, either pulling it up straight, or pushing it up, it's still, you're dealing with all that added weight to and then when it's down low, if you have a maintenance issue, then it's a lot easier to deal with it down low. But I think for a mass situation, that's my personal opinion, is at the bottom, just for the physics of it.
Makes sense. I should say that with my hex beam, and again, Steve mentioned the height for this, and he knows how I'm rigged up out there anyhow. So I'm at, I don't know, 20, somewhere between 25 and 30 feet. The hex beam itself is pretty light compared, but my rotor is up the top, and that's because the builder suggested that. I didn't know if down or up at the time was better. It's okay, but I can tell you that weight is a consideration. And in the early days, and I'm on like I'm on a conduit. I can't remember what it's called, Steve. I got it at the home big box store or whatever it was. The pipe, and it's threaded together, and it's heavy in itself, but it's not super high.
Rigid conduit, if I remember
that's right.
right.
It's rigid. Yeah, and it's great stuff. It doesn't bend. I had aluminum out there. It was much lighter, but I did bend that. I bent that up, just trying to. It bent at a connecting point. And but you're out there working by yourself with that rotor up at the top, even on a light hex beam, man. You are dealing with it. You add a little bit of wind in there, you get yourself in trouble. It's hard to negotiate that. And I did put a winch on mine now because the rigid pipe is heavy itself, and the winch helped quite a bit. But my rotor's still up there. But that major thing, you got to think about that. I put a winch on it just because I'm alone usually a lot working. I don't have a buddy nearby that can come help me lower this thing down. And you need to control the hex because you've got about 10 feet on each side. I've got the 20-meter version. It's about 20 feet across. And you got to be able to negotiate that and bring it down. So I get the point. It's well taken of putting it toward the bottom. Mine is up top. I don't know the benefits. You need extra cable to get up there and everything else. So it's,
Yeah, and then having it at the bottom, you got to have slip guy rings, and so I mean, there's pluses and minuses, and so it's just your situation, and then what help you can have, and I've seen it both, and I've kind of like, if I was going to do it, I'd probably do the bottom mount.
Yeah, the winch has helped me a great deal with my hex beam. Getting that, I don't have to take it down too much, but if I take it once or twice a year, bring it down, or something lands on it, or I've got to clean up the coax connectors, having that winch is
Makes it really
it controls everything, and it's like having a second set of hands there. So, well, there you go. If you've got a comment about your rotor, where it is, where you'd prefer to have it, where you'd like to stick it or have Steve stick it, go ahead. I see my friend Don Wilbanks made it by today. Congratulations on your new certification there. I hope he sells a lot of homes.
And
I hope he
has
sells a lot.
his second COVID shot coming up. So good for you, Don. And I think you got a bottle of scotch that's going to help the after effects.
Yeah, you might just want to.
buddy.
You might have to go to sleep. Yeah, I had a little bit of trouble falling asleep. I was
I
exhausted.
think I need to book some airline tickets to New Orleans and drive down to Picayune
Oh,
and help you on that bottle of scotch.
it's about time to get him on the show here too. I haven't
Yeah.
caught up with
We
Don.
can do some crawdads.
Okay, yeah, you got it all mapped out. It's sounding kind of weird. You're like, I'm gonna get airline tickets and I'm gonna go see Don. Oh yeah, I can't wait. Crawdads.
It's
I'm gonna bring
go,
a.
oh no, I'm not gonna have that.
Here we
Steve
go. Here
guy
goes the
coming around.
algorithm. Here goes the crawdads.
Crawdads and Betty White.
Betty White. Yeah, Don says, "Bring it, bring it." Well, thanks
Bring it,
everybody.
Steve. Yep.
Thanks everybody for coming by today. I hope it was all right. I hope that we at least talked to Ray for sure, but the other ham radio operators who maybe
Who feel like Ray.
who feel like Ray and who
feel
are
like Ray. I mean, thank you, Ray, for bringing it up. And I know that probably took a lot to get out there and say that. It's and we're glad you did. I mean, it as far as it creates good conversation.
Can you
And,
get crabs? I know it might be. Hold on. I was going to say, can you
Dungeness
get
crabs,
crabs
yeah.
in New Orleans? And I was, yes, you can. I'm talking about the crabs that, like, that these kind of crabs, or is it all crawfish? Or I don't know. I've never been down there. Never been down there. Because I could eat some crabs.
In New Orleans. Yeah.
I'll take a road
You
trip.
can get some blue crabs, and we got Dungeness crabs up here in the Pacific Northwest, which is good eats.
Okay. I'm getting hungry. It's getting close to lunchtime.
Yeah.
Don, come on the show, you bastard. I see what you're writing about me down there. I don't like you that much to start with, so let's not go backwards. And he can't speak now. This is great. I got to drop him off. Like, I need to stop now before he writes too much in the chat. That lives forever. All right, brothers and sisters, enjoy yourselves in the weekend. Appreciate you guys all stopping by and chiming in, working hard, doing all that stuff. Raining here again in New Seattle.
Oh wow. We got
Sun may
nothing
be
but
poking
sunshine
out, so
today.
that'd be good. You got any plans? You gonna do anything?
Oh, I got yard work to do.
Me too. I can't cut anything.
I woke up this morning and I had water all the way across the driveway. The irrigation pumps are getting primed, and I forgot to shut a valve, so I gotta go up to the water box and take care of that. And yep, irrigation season has begun.
Good deal. All right, well, be safe out there. Look after yourself and everybody else. And by all means, if you can, join us tomorrow. What do they say? God willing and the creek don't rise. We'll be streaming out the net tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central Time, so you'll be able to check us out here. Click the notification bell.
The Three Stooges will be on the air, so we'll have Ian, Paul, and myself. And
All right. And I get to talk about you while you're not listening. It's so much fun.
Exactly. So 75-40, and I'll be on 20.
All right. Good deal, everybody. Take care of yourselves. And by all means, please try and stay above the noise. 7-3.
7-3, everyone.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsindawire.com.